Hey guys, so ready to carry on from where we left off again. So we've got the trousers done, got a belt in there. Just going to move on to the boots now. I'm going to tidy these up and I'm going to demonstrate Z remesher for you. Now I've already did this yesterday. Unfortunately I had a power cut halfway through recording and was unable to recover anything useful. So good thing is I know exactly what I'm doing. Not that anything went particularly wrong last night anyway, but let's have a look, see what we can do here. I'm going to show you Z remesher. Now Z remesher I've had a few questions about as to why I don't really use it all that often. Simple answer is it's not as accurate as I'd like, and also I'm a little bit old school. I learned how to do all the topology and things way before there was this feature in ZBrush, way before Z remesher or even Q remesher in the previous version of ZBrush ever existed. So yeah, it's force of habit more than anything. But this time I'm going to show you how it works. I'm going to show you a few functions with it and we'll see what kind of results we get. So underneath the geometry panel, all we've done is select solo mode while we've got the boots selected. So we've got some options here. We've got freeze mesh borders, freeze groups borders. I don't tend to use all those too much, though you can control the edges using polygroups and edges of meshes. We have a target poly count slider that works in the thousands, so at the moment it's set to 5, which means we'll get 5,000 polygons. I'm actually going to turn that up to 10 because I quite like 5,000 polygons per boot. If it actually works out that way, we'll see. Then we have a few buttons down here, so you can actually set the same half the poly count of what we currently have, the same, double, or adaptive. And adaptive is going to put more polygons in areas where it thinks we need them, and we can actually control that using a poly paint to control the mesh density. But yeah, I'm not too bothered about that. We just want to see what happens. We're going to turn off adaptive, the adaptive mode, and we're going to press Z remesh. Shouldn't take too long to do. And this is the result we get, which actually looks fairly tidy. So look at the poly frame. Not too bad. Not too shabby. A little bit of an issue there where we've got some of the edge flows sort of coming down and merging down underneath here and passing underneath. Shouldn't be too much of a problem. I will be wanting to add a sole to these shoes, so we may end up having to edit it a bit. But largely that's alright. That's absolutely fine to sculpt on. Let's have a look, see what our poly count's like. If we have a quick check there, we've got 9,582, so not bad. So it's just under 10,000 polys, and we've got a relatively decent base to actually start doing some sculpting on, and possibly some extractions as well. So let's have a look, see what other options we can get out of Z remesh. I'm just going to undo it and go back to our Dynamesh boots. I'm going to go to the brush menu and I'm going to click on Z and I'm going to choose Z remesher guide. This is going to allow us to place down curves which will act as a guide for Z remesher. I'm going to see if I can drag this off to the side and hold shift and see if I can get a decent curve around the top. Evidently not. So I'm going to turn on a lazy mouse and I'm going to turn my radius up a bit. You can find that underneath the stroke menu and clicking lazy mouse. And I'm just going to drag this curve around the top and join it back up at the start. Thereabouts, there we go. So what this does is make a hideous mess on the other side. So I'm actually just going to do half and half. I'm going to drag this curve around the side to mark where the top of the boot is. Come around to the other side, get a better angle on it. When your brush turns blue, that means that you're going to start carrying on from that point when you next put the pen down. Carry it on around. And that's going to form a little bit of a constraint for Z remesh to use. And I'm going to do the same thing down at the bottom here. just join that up. There we go. And I'm going to see if I can just get a flat line along the bottom of these boots. Close enough. Going to go back into geometry and press Z remesher. And we get largely the same results. So having those controls in there isn't going to really help too much. But that's quite alright for what we want to do. If I was really too bothered about the boots, then I'd do the old-fashioned style of retopology that you've seen me do before. But in this case, we're going to be absolutely fine with that. So yeah, I think that'll do. So let's start getting some detail on these boots. I think I'd quite like to have a strap come down underneath the sole of there. But first I need to create the sole. So what I'm going to do to create the sole is I'm going to drag a mask around the bottom of these boots here. You can see that actually the way that the polyflow's gone down is really not helpful for this type of thing. So I'm going to try doing a slice. I'm going to select slice curve. We've got polyframe turned on. And I'm going to drag the slice curve along the bottom here. And what that'll do is create a new edge flow and a poly group, which intersects the others along a straight line. So we should be able to get a good flat base from this. Then I'm going to simply Control, Shift and click on this poly group. And go to Subtool, Extract, and I'm going to press the Extract button. And then I'm going to press Accept. I'm going to turn off Solo Mode. Turn off Polyframe. And I'm going to unhide my mesh. So you can see we've got the starts of some rudimentary soles coming in there. I'm going to grab the moved brush, the transpose tool, and I'm going to sort of move this down, position it sort of in the center, so it's actually a bit of an overlay, possibly change the scale a little bit, move that into position. Then I'm going to go down to deformation and I'm going to hit inflate. So I'm going to inflate that up far beyond what I need it to be. Once again, a little bit more. And I'm going to hold down Control and drag a mask around this area. I'm going to sharpen the mask. So head to masking. I'm going to sharpen that up. I'm actually going to shrink it as well and sharpen it some more. Then I'm going to invert the mask. Make sure it's sharp still. Go to scale and reduce the scale of this. Okay, that's okay. Now I'm going to Dynamesh this. So I'm going to go to Dynamesh, click, going to turn off project and hit Dynamesh. Nope, I'm going to turn the resolution up first. So I'm going to put that at say 512, hit Dynamesh. Then I'm going to start slicing this up. So I'm going to hit the Control Shift key and I'm going to do trim curve. I'm going to go on to transparency mode. And I'm going to start cutting out the shape of this sole, so it's not quite so large, but also so it has some nice hard edges on the bottom. So you can drag the curve out. You can put a point down with which to start rotating your curve by pressing Alt. You can press it twice to get a sharp curve. Once you're done, you can let go, and it'll create a hideous mess. So that's not going to work for us. No big deal. Let's just go ahead and delete that for now. And I think possibly the better way of doing this is if we take this polygroup and we go to deformation, and then we're just going to inflate this a little bit and hide it. And that'll give us something. Hopefully that'll work better at a higher subdivision level. We can tweak that in a minute. So there's a little excursion there which kind of went a bit wrong, but oh well. So let's add a few subdivision levels. Let's turn off Dynamesh first of all and then press divide. As you can see, we're starting to get some sort of outline of the sole there. I'm going to grab the H polish brush and I'm going to drag this around the bottom with a smaller size with the lazy mouse turned on. To make sure we don't have a mask selected. Turn lazy mouse off because it's affecting the way it's been applied. Let's grab Damien Standard. Let's do it the old-fashioned way. Put a crease underneath here. Okay, grab the H polish brush and turn the intensity down a little bit. I grab the trim dynamic brush actually. There we go, it's going to tidy things up better for us. So it's H polish just to tidy it up a bit where we've got a few lips and bumps in there. Just going to drop down a few subdivision levels to the base. I'm going to grab the move brush and I'm going to move these out. So it's more of a sole along the bottom rather than it tapering to the bottom. Just jump up the subdivision levels. That's looking a whole lot better. So let's just add the soles in. Going to grab the H polish brush, just drag it along the bottom just to sharpen up the edges. A bit too much, I think. Trim dynamic. I'm going to turn the intensity down. do for now. Let's just grab the clay build tool, and we're just going to add a bit of a soul in here. And knock that in. For some reason all my brushes are being extremely sensitive. Again, just get the polish brush, sort out these edges. That'll do on there. So as we go up the subdivision levels, we'll be tightening this up a little bit more. So I'm going to add a few straps, I think. So I'm going to hold down Control, and I'm going to draw on a mask from this area. Going to carry that on down. Let's just try and keep it tidy. So again, go to Subtool. I'm going to extract. A little bit too thick, perhaps. 0.004. Let's try that. Extract. Yeah, I think that'll do it. Press Accept. So we've got a few. Well, it's a bit messy, but that's okay. Let's just jump down to the extraction and remove the mask. I'm going to turn on solo mode, and I'm going to see if we can tidy this up a little bit, just on the edges. So let's just smooth this down a bit. So don't worry about killing off the thickness, we're going to add that back in momentarily. Of course, we didn't have symmetry turned on for a new tool, so I'm just going to go to Geometry, Modify Topology, Mirror and Weld, and then turn on symmetry. Then going to go to Deformation, tweak the inflate a tiny bit. Smooth it back. And then put up a subdivision. So hit Control D. And turn off solo mode. Turn on transparency, and I think we're going to make use of the clip brush. So we're going to hold down Control Shift. We're going to do trim curve. Is it trim curve? Sorry, clip curve. And we're going to drag this down just along this surface. And what that'll do is push all the vertices to one side. So it won't remove any vertices, but it will change the way that they're distributed. And I'm just going to do the same on the other side, just to tidy this up. ZBrush always picks its time well to save. The reason I'm working on the left is because trims generally don't work too well in symmetry. Sometimes you get lucky Of course, we're using the clip brush, and the clip brush works absolutely fine, but just out of habit I'm working on the left hand side, so if things do go wrong I can always mirror things over. So let's tidy up this bit next. So the side that will be affected is always the one where the shaded gradient is. And you get weird things like that happening sometimes when you've got symmetry turned on. So I'm just going to turn that off for now. Hold down Control Shift, release it, and then we can get some nice smooth curves. There we go. Don't worry about the other one for now, we'll be coming back and mirroring it in a second. And let's just tidy up the other side. Okay, it's looking good. Let's just do the bottom. There we go. Cool, so let's go to Geometry, Mirror and Weld. We'll actually delete the lower subdivision levels, press Mirror and Weld, and we might be able to reconstruct the subdivision levels. So if you haven't got any triangles in your mesh, you can always reconstruct the subdivision levels by pressing this button here. It's a few little glitches where we did that last cut at the bottom, because the clip brushes, they force the polygons up and they flatten them, so if something's at an angle you tend to get a little lip like this. Can usually be fixed by smoothing it down. Which, considering this is probably going to be some sort of leather strap, that's absolutely fine. You can add the edge back in by using the Trim Dynamic brush. And that's just using the secondary smoothing technique, so that was holding down Shift and then releasing it while still smoothing. There we go. Let's do the other side. Actually just going to delete the lower subdivision level as we don't need it. So I was holding down Shift and while smoothing, releasing Shift for carrying on smoothing. So if you come to an area where you find that holding Shift and smoothing things down isn't actually doing anything, you can release Shift and usually, or use the secondary algorithm, which should help you smooth down a troublesome area. So that's absolutely fine. I say it's leather anyway, so it's not going to be perfect. We're then going to do Mirror and Weld, so it's the same over the other side. And we've got some straps on the boots. Probably going to create another one. So I'm going to select the boot by holding down Alt and clicking on the boot itself. And from here, we're going to do another strap, which I think will sort of go around his heel. So I'm just going to get a larger brush size. Hold down Control, and I'm going to draw that around the side, around the back to the other side. Try that again. If you want to remove the mask, you can hold down Control and Alt and then just paint it down. There we go. Cool. Once again, we're going to go to Subtool. And extract. I'm going to go to the extraction. Oops. Helps if I press accept first of all. Hit accept, go to our extraction and clear the mask off by control dragging. Going to go to solo mode and we're going to once again tidied this up. Hold down Shift, smooth it down a bit, smooth down the edges. Then just going to inflate it a bit to give us that thickness back, but without so much of a wobbly edge. Then going to subdivide it, so Control D, smooth it a bit more. And once again, we're just going to use the clip curve to tidy up these wobbly edges. Don't worry about what's going on the other side. We'll correct that when we mirror everything over. Let's just do the underside now. We might be able to do this all in one go. Let's see if we can get an angle where it lines up okay. That might do it. Yep, that'll do. And then let's just drag off the bottom of this. There we are. So let's start correcting the problems with this. It's going to subdivide it once more, get a bit of extra res. Going to smooth these sections down. We're going to drop down back to that original subdivision actually. Use the alternate smoothing operation to get rid of these sort of little clippy bits at the bottom, and then use the trim dynamic brush just to kind of add the edges back in. So these are very small details, so we don't have to be particularly clean with them. After all, they're probably not even going to be actual geometry at the end of this. It might just be a detail baked into the normal and texture map, so don't worry too much. Just going to delete the lower resolution. So, delete lower. There we go. Mirror and weld. Delete the higher resolution. Mirror and weld. And we can divide it once more. And that'll do it. Let's turn off solid mode. And finally, we're just going to add a little bit of a nice detail in here. We're going to go to our Tools menu, and we're going to choose Ring 3D. You can hit Frame or F on the keyboard, and that's going to give us this hoop. I'm going to press Make Polymesh 3D, go back to our model, go to Subtool, hit Append, and then we choose Ring 3D. So from here, we can alt and click on our ring. We can go to Deformation, drag the size way down, way down, even further down, and something like that will work. We can go to our Transpose tools and select Move. I'm going to move this down over here. Going to rotate it. So I'm going to draw out a line from there. Rotate that around. You can see where I'm going with this. Just going to take this and move it into a position where we can pop that in with these details here. I'm actually going to select the boots. I'm going to turn off symmetry, and I'm going to not clip curve it because I've probably crashed their brush. I'm going to hide the other boot so I can see what I'm doing from the side. Go back to our ring, And now I can move it into position, rotate it a bit. Just want to get the main bulk of it sort of lined up with the actual boot itself, and then I can move the straps to sort of fit with it. So I'm just going to go back to draw mode, select the actual straps themselves, select the move tool, and I'm just going to nudge that into a position which looks like, you know, it's linked up. Do the same on the other side. There we go, that looks alright. So now I'm going to go to Subtool, I'm going to select the ring again and press duplicate. I'm going to grab the move tool and move that over here. I'm going to do the same on the outside of the boot. Going to rotate that. Position that in, jump to the back to draw mode and alt click on our bootstraps. Make that look like it's attached to it. Just nudge everything to make sure everything sort of holds up. Oops. Change your brush size to affect larger or smaller areas. And do the same for the other strap here. Again, this isn't going to be a detail which is staring you in the face, it's just kind of nice for it to be there. Strictly not necessary, but you know, you could actually just sculpt it onto the surface of the boot really. I'm actually just going to deflate this a little bit because it's become a little bit too fat. So I'm just going to drag the inflate down slightly. Might do -1 again. No, not that much. Let's do -0.5. That might work with a bit of smoothing. Smooth that back. That'll do it. Then we're just going to go to geometry, delete lower, mirror and weld. Do the same with this other strap. Mirror and weld. I'm going to select these rings. I'm actually going to merge these two together. So we're going to do merge down. Press OK. Now we've got 2 rings in one subtool. Head back to geometry and press mirror and weld. And now if we come back to the boots, unhide the other section, then we've got the other side done as well. So, next stage, just adding a few wrinkles and things to the boots. We're going to be doing a full detail pass a little bit later anyway, so I'm not going to be spending too long doing this. I'm actually just going to switch the brush mode to freehand. Drag the intensity down a bit. And just gonna, oops, a bit too big. Just gonna add a few little wrinkles in places. Smooth them back. Kind of where you'd expect wrinkles to be, around areas that flex. Helps if we have symmetry turned on, but we can make the wrinkles asymmetrical. Alrighty, so to mirror this over to the other side, because I've worked on the right hand side instead of the left this time, gonna have to go to deformation, mirror that. Oh, again, subdivision levels. It's going to delete lower. Going to go to deformation, mirror, geometry, mirror and weld. There we go. So just getting a few rough details in there. And I'm just going to activate symmetry. So a few wrinkles. Actually going to turn this back to dot mode. And the step's already down, so that's fine. Put a few sort of hints at what we need to do later on. Oops. Okay, so boots are a bit rough at the moment, but we'll be working on those fully a bit later on when it comes to the rest of it. Depending on how they go, I might just retopologize them and extract a sole that way. Depends how well it turns out towards the end, I guess. See if the results are kind of what I'm after. Or we could just clean it up with the final model and just do some texture work on there to sort of enhance it. So, just turn the intensity down. This is the Damien standard brush. Just going to put some sort of deeper wrinkles and things in. So remember to always smooth afterwards. Just makes things look a whole lot better, really. Keeps the polygons sort of in check, so you're not forcing them around too much. It relaxes them back into a place, and then you can continue to draw them in or push them out. So when we come to the final detailing stage, these are going to be very old boots, so they're going to look pretty tatty. So at the moment I'm not too bothered about the surface quality, as I'm hoping it will kind of add to the overall look of a really old pair of boots. It might even well have been the same boots that he used when he was out plundering and all that sort of thing. So keep in mind sort of what your character's been doing, what he will do. Kind of come up with a story to sort of support your design decisions, or preferably come up with design decisions to support the story. Every character's got to have a story, especially if he's a main character like this guy would be. You know, we may not know a whole lot about him, may not have an origin story or something like that, but you know, we can kind of get a feel for what this character would be. We can kind of hint at things in his past, from having various trinkets on his body, or you know, having an old pair of military shoes. Things like that always hint at character. Military boots are usually kind of famed for being hard wearing. And I've got a pair of Magnums which I've had for the last 11 years, and all that's happened is a bit of plastic flashing has chipped off, but that's it. Incredibly hard wearing boots. Anyway, it's probably a little bit too over the top on the folds. I'm just going to do a little bit of an all over smooth, just to kind of ease it off a bit. It looks a whole lot more natural. Might do the same with all of the boots to make the wrinkles a bit larger. There we are. Awesome. So we've got the boots in. The only thing that's left that's low polygon is the apron and the gloves. So we'll move on to those in the next chapter. So in this one we've done a bit of minor detailing on the boots. We've extracted a few belt buckles and added a few little features in. Next chapter we'll be doing a similar thing with the gloves and the apron, or just the gloves and then the apron, depends on how long the chapter goes on for. Unfortunately, this is all the time that I have to actually record today, so I'm going to have to cut this chapter here, and we'll move on to the gloves in the next one. So any questions, drop them in the comments. I'll do my best to answer, and come join me in chapter 7 and we'll continue to sort this dude out. Take care guys, happy sculpting.